Alright, hi everybody. This is the last video of the Sokoban series as far as I can predict. And yeah, we made it to the end. We moved all the way to a ring buffer. We started pretty far back where we're using like vectors and strings to read levels, and we moved to byte by byte. We moved to a bit set at some point. We started our own logging system with it's like perfect forwarding, but it's like variadic templates or something like that for our logs. So that way we could use like something similar like print ln if you recall. So now we don't have to use like format everywhere. We just have some complicated looking lines of code right here. But otherwise, everything's pretty simple. We updated our point just a little bit to start using object-oriented, and we will move away from this too in the future. We did a command pattern, so all of a sudden we have this thing, so that way we can actually undo moves in our version of Sokoban. I said I was going to do 30 levels. Turns out designing Sokoban levels, one, is super hard, and two, it's not something I really enjoy. So I'm not really going to do that. It was kind of fun at the start, but I really didn't enjoy it. Now what we could do is we could do like MIT license, I already get updated or search for it, right? And we could do something like this, and I think this, not this one. Where are they? And we can find one of these which has like the levels. Maybe this is MIT licensed, but they're not. They're going to be using the assets, the levels, right? And then they have this levels dot dat. And so we could take that. This one isn't MIT licensed though, so we'd have to go. Oh no, it is. So we could take that. We could basically take this format that they have, change it to our format. They only do a couple levels though, so we could find a different one, like GitHub, Sokoban, levels. I think this one I looked at before. Actually, yeah, so we could look at this. We could also just like implement the Sokoban format, which it does appear to be a thing. And we could take this and put it in, and they also have solutions, which is kind of cool. And then we could do some copyright stuff to basically reference it. But personally, I don't really love taking other people's work. I don't want to do it. So we're just going to leave it at 10 levels. We know it works with like 100 levels. We know it will work with 200 levels. So we're not really concerned about that. But I do want to do a full playthrough. And while we're doing the full playthrough, I'll talk a little bit about what I am planning on doing next. Planning and actually doing are two different things, of course. Like I planned to do 30 levels and I started doing them and I just wasn't really enjoying it. So actually, let's rmsave.txt. Hopefully this still works. Nice. So we'll play level 1. Again, this is our little tutorial level. Pretty simple. We beat it. This is another tutorial level, and we still did it. Next one, now we're teaching the player a little bit more, like how you have to move around. Takes us to level 3. So pretty easy. And so while we're solving this, I do want to talk about what I'm planning to do next, which is I want to do a little detour from all the stuff we've been doing with C++ and game development, and moving on to, not moving on, that's the wrong way to say it, but taking a brief break and actually going to a different language, which is Go. And I want to do something on basically making a server with, oh, I messed up. Let's restart that. The solution is this, yeah. Basically making a server with Go and using that for something called condition assignment. Now, for those who aren't familiar, conditions are like different versions of something. So in the context of games, we'll just do like Sokoban. We could have two conditions where we're testing two different level progressions, right? And then the question is, when you're actually running a player study, is how are we assigning those conditions? And we can do something like random condition assignment, which is super simple, right? The user makes a request to a server. You don't even need a server in that case. You can just have them play the game and then send their log files to wherever. In this case, we do need a server for that, right? But the assignment of the actual condition can be completely random, A or B, 50-50 chance. But when you're dealing with either a low population count or a low population count compared to the number of participants you have in your study. You can occasionally want something else, and that something else is called block assignment or block random assignment. Forgetting the exact name, but it's very simple where basically instead of saying let's assign randomly, it's basically saying how many conditions do you have? In our case, let's say 2. So we can make an array of size 2 for one for condition A, one for condition B in that array. And then we can just go from 1 to 2 or 0 to 1 in indexes, right? And then once you overflow, so when we would get to index 2 after from 1, instead of actually making it so you do a random, you go back to the start, so everybody would get like A, B in terms of conditions. What you can do instead is you can do shuffle that array, and then you're not getting guaranteed A, B condition assignment. So I'm going to do that in Go, and I'm going to do it because I think it's interesting. I think I want to spend a little bit more time with Go, but in terms of like game development, I really want to stick with like our C++ stuff, and like I have like a little submodule going called core PP for C++. I think I already showed it at some point, but it's this. It's available on GitHub. There's no README apparently, but it basically just has the tools that we've been using, and additionally it has some other stuff like range inclusive, decimal, boolean, and I want to start doing some videos on like making a better random and like really getting into what actually makes for a fast random function, because right now we're just using like C's base rand, but we could make it a lot better. And I also want to do some more modern C++ stuff where we're using like modules instead of like this namespace stuff. And yeah, I just want to make it better, frankly. We have our states and we can always do that. We also have some base types, and I want to add like a size t type just so like I'm kind of tired of typing like std : size t every single time. But so there's a lot of stuff to do. I think in terms of the next game, after I do the block randomization video, and I really do think it will only be one video because I really don't want to spend a lot of time on it. We'll brainstorm a little bit about what we could do next with Go, but in terms of the next game project, I think we've talked about doing Breakout, which would be pretty interesting. I think I want to start it a little bit simpler though. So we could do like a pool game, for example, where we're just like hitting pool balls in the game, which could be fun. And then you can like imagine like you have to have like the flow meter for hitting things. Or we could go to Pac-Man, which could also be interesting because then we'd get to do tree search. I really don't know what I'm going to do next in terms of the games. I'm really tempted to do Pac-Man, to be totally honest. But we're at like these last 2 levels, so let's stop talking about the future and start talking about the game. So this is how you solve this, I believe. I don't know if it's the fastest. Oh, I messed up. So now you have to do this, and then you do this, and then you do this. And then we solved it, and this takes us to the last level. And I actually had trouble solving this level, even though I made it. And I believe you do like this, this, yeah, this. And that's the game. Could be way more levels, probably should be way more levels because I was able to do all the levels while talking about other stuff in 10 minutes. So it's not like any of the levels are super difficult. I think if we really wanted to take Sokoban to like the next level, like say like I was making this game and it wasn't already a full game, so like I'd come up with this idea and I was like, okay, I have this cool thing, but I'm having trouble making levels, right? The next step is to build a level editor, just really that simple. And what I'd probably do, because I don't I wouldn't want to make a level editor in ncurses, because for some reason when I'm like designing, I really want to use my mouse. So I would make some kind of level editor that was like either with Raylib if I wanted to stick with C++, or I could do like a Pygame or something in Python. And then what I'd actually also just feel like I absolutely would require to do is actually build a solver for it, because one of the things I found when I was designing was I would have to make it in the text file, which was annoying because like I'm kind of like moving things around in text, but it's not like I click on right here and all of a sudden I'm here. I have to press space a bunch of times. So it could just be you have that, you click here to add X, you click here to add the player. And then one other thing that I'd probably be tempted to do was create puzzles where you have to control multiple players, right? So if you click left, you'd have 2 players or 3 players move to the left, and then you would have to have that handled. But that's what I would want to do if we were taking this project further. But for me, I feel like we've really shown like this is how you can go about making Sokoban, but we haven't shown how you can make the game into a fully fledged game in the sense that if I want 100 levels, like frankly, just building them off text files by hand is really just not like scalable, at least for me as a designer. I'm sure other people could probably figure it out, but for me, I'd want to build a solver, I'd want to build an editor, and that's what we would do next. But I'm calling it here on the Sokoban project. I feel like this is the 31st part. We've gone as far as I want to take it personally. If all of a sudden people start watching these videos and start commenting, we want more, then I would totally revisit it. But for now, we're averaging like 20 or 30 views per video, which is pretty incredible, frankly. I feel like YouTube makes it sound like getting 30 views, 30 people to watch your stuff isn't pretty cool. Like you can imagine just a room of 30 people just watching. It's pretty cool. It's pretty cool. I'm really grateful for the people who've watched it. I've really enjoyed the series. And yeah, we'll go to block randomization. And yeah, I guess we'll go to another game and just see how that one goes. So I'll see you guys in the next one. I really hope you enjoyed this Sokoban series. I certainly enjoyed making it. Thank you all for taking the time for watching it. And yeah, I hope you have a great day. And bye.